What is up, everybody? Thralls of Metal here. I'm Jammin John.
Correct, Nick.
And we are bringing you yet another album review. This is from the band Overtoun. Or Overtown. Or...
Overtoun?
Overtoun? Overtoun. No, I believe it's Overtown. I believe. Don't quote me. Anyway, with the album This Darkness Feels Alive. Now, this is their second full-length release. Comes out on the 25th of July, 2021. Self-released, too.
Now, this one was brought to us courtesy, actually, through John here. This is progressive metal, but like progressive thrash metal, death metal, and then kind of groove metal, all kind of thrown in here. And they do a good job of blending all three. Now, I was intrigued when John brought up the fact that this was mastered by none other than Flemming Rasmussen, who is very famous for working with those early Metallica albums and doing a brilliant job with those. So I was like, all right, I definitely want to check that out just because that already intrigues me.
Yeah.
And then we got to listening to it, and yeah, this sounds like the kind of thing he would work on, and this, again, blends all of those styles really well together. This band is from Santiago, Chile, too, which, when I think of Chilean death metal, or Chilean extreme metal in general, or just South American extreme metal in general, yeah, I think fast, frantic, insane, just really visceral and raw stuff, and this is kind of on the other end of the spectrum. This is well-produced, well-mixed, very thought out, and very intricate, but does not skimp on heavy, really at all.
Now, another interesting factoid about this band is that their frontman is actually the bassist of Atheist, Yoav Ruiz Feingold.
We think that's how you pronounce it? We're not sure.
I'm sorry. When the guitarist Matthias reached out to me, he said that the lead singer was the bassist of Atheist, and that furthermore made me want to check out the record, so...
I mean, Atheist is pretty elite company, and the fact that they're doing progressive metal, which is kind of the thing that Atheist did. In fact, you know, Atheist, I would say, is a heavy influence on this album.
Yeah.
Because you have the thrash elements, the death metal elements, and the progressive elements. Maybe not as much jazz fusion, but you have the technical play and the songwriting. Opening track, Underneath, very classic intro.
It actually kind of reminded me of, when I first heard it, I was like, uh-oh, is this going to be a power metal album? Because it's got a very epic power metal feel to that intro.
Triumphant.
Yeah. You're just like, I don't know. But then it gets right into it. Gets right into, first of all, very melodic.
Yes.
Very melodic. Sounds like Death.
Yeah.
Death's later catalog.
Very. I picked up a lot of that, especially on the songs Humanity and Toxin. There are huge later Death moments. This opening track, though, really kind of like toes the line in terms of like bands that are coming up now that like this technical death thrash sound. Hematoxin, Cryptosis, both of these bands are fantastic at this heavier style of thrash that includes a lot of, you know, progressive elements, very similar to like Anacrusis way back.
Yep. The lead work you're going to notice on all these songs is top-notch, very neoclassical.
Yes.
I think, especially in Underneath. The guest star they had, Joe Stump, I believe, is also a actually neoclassical guitarist.
Very Yngwie.
Yep, very...
Yeah. But very tuneful, very melodic. And it isn't as though Matthias, the guitarist for this band, does not have his own chops as well. That guy also has a tremendous wheelhouse.
Whew.
They have a myriad of different kinds of solos on here, and he knows how to like appropriately fit them to the melodies behind them. It's really well done.
The phrasing is very well done.
And the production, and you know, this comes out in the mix and master, is great.
It's a little bassy, but I want to say too that the copy we have is actually a promo copy, so I'm not even sure that we got like the final mix, because it seemed a little bassy, but only in the beginning. It kind of evened out towards the middle of the record.
The bass drums have like a big punch to them. I like that. I like a good heavy, like, you know, thud when it comes down to a bass drum. But I mean, yeah, you can pick up the bass drops pretty heavily on there.
The drums overall have a real kind of thrashy tone to them. Reminds me of Power Trip, to be honest.
Yeah.
That drum mix.
The drum style, though, when this dude was playing, especially on those songs that really like cling close to that later death sound, it's very Gene Hoglan.
Yes.
He has the off-time little fills, but always this really awesome groovy pocket. The fills are really tasteful, just really well done drumming. And songwriting on here is really cool. This band, with all those different styles, sort of, well, I wouldn't say colliding, because if they were doing it wrong, they would collide, but they don't. They merge them really well. And the transitions from like death metal moments to like straight up thrash metal moments are really good. The songs White Wolf and Toxin in particular, I think, make great transitions from like more death metal moments to more thrash metal moments, especially Toxin. Toxin has such thrash fury behind it.
White Wolf too. White Wolf has an Exodus vibe to it.
But he also peppers in some blast beats, and blast beats aren't a thing that are all over this album. This is mostly about like, kind of like a groovy up-tempo sort of feel. With occasional like pockets of like faster up-tempo material. The
song Awaken the Beast, I think, is a good example of their technical play. First of all, Riff City. There's probably, 30 riffs in this song. Tons of groove, but they offer a lot of like off-time beats.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. And the drummer does a good job to take these riffs and break them up by putting in off-time rhythms to the same riff. So it kind of sets it off. Kind of gives it a real prog feel, to be honest.
The main riff that carries it, the one they keep coming back to, I think is particularly catchy. It's this kind of riff that I like that, it's nice and heavy, but it has a nice little melodic hook to it where I think anyone could really appreciate it.
And then the longer tracks on this album, and really the songs range anywhere from about 3.5 minutes to about 6 minutes at their peak, which is the songs Pitch Black, and then the title track, This Darkness Feels Alive. This is where the musicianship really comes out. Pitch Black, it goes from almost like a Megadeth thrashy kind of thing to an almost doom part, and then into like a blasty death metal, and then back to thrash. It kind of gives you a feeling of overall of what the whole song is going to be. It just showcases all those parts in the beginning.
Literally, that song, I think, showcases everything that's on the album in one song, and it is beautifully written. The transitions are great. It has this really cool flow to it. The main, like, I guess you could say chorus riff really reminded me a lot of Crystal Mountain by Death. Great song. It has this cool gallop to it, and it just kind of careens around these different styles, but again, it never loses like the sense of like togetherness there in terms of like merging these sounds.
And even when they go into the break, because everything stops and then it goes into this really like clean guitars, and it's just guitars, and then they bring in strings, and it's just this kind of whimsical feeling, and then they just go right back into the riff and right back into the hook. And again, the hook that they use is a really cool riff.
And then there's that giant breakdown immediately after that. Oh my god, one of the heaviest sections on the album. It's just this big stomp of a breakdown. And, these guys love melody. They love playing around with that, but they have the ability to get flat out heavy at times, and that is one of the best moments on there. The other one is the title track. The title track is this big, gloomy monster. It stays pretty much very slow, and as soon as I saw the album title, the first thing I thought of was like, well, if you listen to Portal, the darkness is alive and it's coming to eat you. But this is sort of like just navigating through like really like angular, dissonant riffs.
Yeah, the overall feel of this song is darker than anything else that's on the album, and it sticks with that tone throughout the song.
This is probably like the most, I would say, straightforward, more death metal song.
Down-tempo, chuggy riffs.
Like a thrashier version of Immolation. Like it kind of has those interesting riffs there. And a really just ugly atmosphere. Like it's still tuneful and melodic, but it has like a completely different feel to it.
And further speaking, that Heft, the last track, Made Manifest, that's where the bread and butter is for me as far as Heft is concerned. A lot of off-time, dissonant, off chords, tons of melody, but the melody is more with a riff than it is with like a lead type melody.
Yeah. And they bring in a guest vocalist on there. I'm not sure how to say his name, so I'm not going to.
Right.
But he did a good job, and they kind of throw in like more, I guess you could say, blackened vocals on there. And it's a good contrast between the vocalist on here. The vocalist on here does mostly really deep death roars, and occasionally like this kind of higher, more mid-range maybe, kind of like real raspy growl. And those vocals really work, and this guy kind of pairs off and gives it a little bit of a blackened hue. But overall, the vocals in here are solid, except for one moment. The song Alone. Now, I think the song is pretty good musically.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the clean vocals that attempt to carry it, because, all right, the melody is weird.
Yes.
It's this kind of, you know, well, I mean, it starts off with a lonely guitar playing a very
creepy,
sad,
out of tune, yeah.
But the vocals, it's kind of hard to match up with that, so it kind of comes across as a little flat there. And part of me was thinking maybe this would work as a spoken word, just talking about being alone and sullen, because the cleans just did not work for me here. They just don't fit the song. But again, that melody behind it is odd too. But it saves a bit of its clout there with the heavier parts on that song and closes in grand thrashy fashion.
Yep.
But that part really stood out to me as like, all right, this is a little bit outside the comfort zone for these guys. And then a really good track, but it's an odd track. Arancaria, this is the lone instrumental, and this is a folk song.
Yeah.
Kind of out of nowhere. It's pretty much what I imagine Ren Fair's like. I've never been to one. But
have you never been to a Ren Fair?
No, I've never been to a Ren Fair.
Oh, dude, they're fun.
There are flutes, there are acoustic guitars, there are gorgeous melodies.
It's a pan flute, actually, I believe. The acoustic guitar riff in the beginning sounds like Mama, I'm Coming Home.
A little bit.
It's in there.
It's a really pleasant melody. It's a really pleasant song. I mean, it seems like a good song for hobbits to square dance to, if they square dance. They square dance? They probably do.
I don't know.
But the thing is, I would have liked to have seen their sound sort of merge with this. Like, you know, I want to call it like neo-folk, but like folk fusion or something like that, because their sound is great. Their bass sound on this album is killer.
Yes.
Infuse that somehow in there, because this is just a straight up folk song. Like, this is, you know, pretty much you've been watching Death and Metallica play together, and then all of a sudden Jethro Tull is popping up, and
Jorge Tull.
Yeah, and they just stole the Grammy from you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still bitter about that, I guess.
Give it.
It fits in a way because, you know, they wanted to bring in some of their culture on this, and they did a good job. It's just, I would have liked to have seen that sound integrated with their main sound, and I think that could have been even more standout. But overall, this is a pretty solid album. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was pretty much engaged with it right away. I love the riff work. It's a lot of fun to listen to, and I was not aware this band existed until John told me about it. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. This is really good. The technical play is awesome and never loses a sense of melody. It's groovy, and my God, like, these guys have very catchy riffs. The lead work too. The lead work is scorching across this.
Love it.
This is one of those things you can enjoy for the musicality, but also like the songwriting, because there are really good hooks here. It's thrashy enough for just thrash fans. It is death metal enough for death metal fans, and it is definitely proggy enough for prog fans. So all of you can just kind of get along on this one, I think. I recommend checking this out. I don't know if they have CDs yet, but if they do, I will order one, because this was really good. So definitely check this out.
All right, I'm also going to give it 4 stars. I think this was a hell of a listen, to be honest. The first time I heard a couple of these tracks was actually just on my phone, and I liked the tone of the guitars through my phone. But I was definitely intrigued to hear more of it, and it didn't let me down. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm quite surprised by it all. The way they incorporate all the elements of all the sounds that they're trying to reach, and be able to make transitions between death and thrash and rock and groove and prog, like, it's all buttery smooth. It all fits really well. The riffs are very entertaining, and there's non-stop riffs. I mean, again, a little knock on the clean vocals, but not a big deal. Overall, I had a really good time with this album. These are definitely tracks that I will come back to again. And like Nick said, I don't know if they have physical CDs, but if they do, I'm gonna buy one. I'm just gonna message the dude here in a minute, actually. But yeah, definitely check out this band. Hell of a listen.
So, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon, so if you'd like to help us out there will be a link below in the description. And we still have some shirts available. If you would like one and you wear an XL, 2X, or large.
Or small.
So if you're also a tiny person. there is still a shirt for you. Get a hold of us at thrallsmetal@gmail.com and put shirts in the subject matter. We will get back to you, get your information, get your size, and get one sent out to you. So, with that, I thank you all for watching, and we will catch you later.